Hey there, IoTeX community. My name is Larry. Welcome to a special live stream we have today. Today is IoT Day, which is a very important day for all of us. We have Raullen Chai here, co-founder of IoTeX. I'm Larry, head of business development at IoTeX, and we're going to be answering all of your questions that you left on Twitter and Telegram, and also we're going to be sharing some important updates about what's been going on at IoTeX. So. Before we get started, Raullen, do you want to first introduce yourself?
Yeah, so this is Raullen. I think a lot of you already know me. I'm the co-founder and CEO of IoTeX. I lead the design strategy, business development, almost everything here at IoTeX. I think it's very good to meet you guys in the morning. I think a Zoom meeting becomes part of our life, given that this COVID-19 is also operating in the US and lots of people are actually advised to work from home by the government. So yeah, Zoom is part of our life.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're meeting a lot on Zoom these days. And, IoTeX remains busy though, even through these testing coronavirus times. So, Raullen, maybe share a little bit about IoTex's view on COVID and how we're powering the crisis before we get started.
Yeah, sure. I think there are a couple of initiatives keep us very busy. Apparently, the first one is Ucam because so close to launch. The entire team is actually focused a lot on the Ucam launch. Final testing, manufacturing. Talking with Amazon. Open up the distribution channels, and also the product team is trying to integrate Ucam with the protocol, especially the token, right? So everything is pretty busy. Everything's going so fast. Nothing slowing down as far as I can observe. So that's one. Another one, a leadership team is kind of very busy right now is to craft the entire thing for IoTeX 2.0. There are lots of interesting stuff going on in IoTeX 2.0. I think we should probably go down to the details maybe later.
Definitely, yeah. Just to share a little bit of things that are going on right now. Just earlier today, we announced that IoTeX has been selected along with Amazon and Huawei as the co-chairs of the Industrial Internet Consortium Blockchain Task Group. So this is a very important part of our enterprise efforts, right? IIC is a consortium consisting of 300 of the world's top premier tech organizations, and our head of cryptography, Dr. Xinqing Fan, was chosen alongside the global practice leader, blockchain practice leader at Amazon, Anoop, who's our friend from Trusted IoT Alliance, hey Anoop, and Mike McBride from Huawei. So this is really big news for our efforts to kind of bring IoTeX technology, to standardize it, to introduce it to real end users and all of the like. Some other things are, Ucam is obviously a big priority. As an update on Ucam, we're expecting to ship the pre-orders this month. So all of the folks that pre-ordered Ucam, you should be receiving it very, very soon. And we're really excited for this. We're really focusing on a lot of the UI fixes and the user experience to make this product, not just a blockchain product, but something that everyone can enjoy, whether they know blockchain or not. And finally, the last one here is just, it's all about Pebble Tracker. Pebble Tracker is a really interesting device, that is more focused on developers and prototyping. But we basically partnered with Nordic Semiconductor, which is a very large semiconductor company. They make some of the best chips in the world. And we basically designed this asset tracking device alongside them. So you're starting to see IoTex's reach extend from just our immediate community into a lot of different enterprises and even different forms of partnerships, right? Whether it's more work on systems with Amazon and Huawei and IIC, working directly with security camera manufacturers to build out Ucam, and also working with semiconductor companies to build out brand new types of secure hardware-enabled devices. But yeah, so that's just a quick overview of all the things we have going on. The way this is going to work is, we're going to take some questions, whether you're watching on Zoom or you're watching on YouTube. Feel free to drop some questions in the chat and we'll get to them. But we also took a lot of pre-recorded questions. So, Raullen, I think we just go down these one by one. Does it sound good? Great. I think you're on mute, Raullen. But, let's just start with the first question here. It's about COVID. I think we have some COVID questions first. It's top of mind for everyone. So with the situation with COVID-19, how does IoTex's development help to deal with such challenges in the future regarding automated work, around privacy, and different topics? Raullen, you want to share some thoughts on the privacy aspect of COVID? I think you wrote a great op-ed.
Yeah. I think generally speaking, COVID-19 have some impact on us, but not too much. Because anyway, like we are operating as a blockchain, lots of blockchain teams, right? So we are pretty decentralized, meaning we have teams here and there, but most of the people here in the Silicon Valley, but we do have overseas teams as well. Like a remote collaboration becomes part of life already. So this COVID-19 is not too bad for us, it's even better actually for me, right? I feel like I can work even more efficiently because I'm working at home. I save the time for commute. I can concentrate on like a really high level strategic things like we should be focused on. I feel the same for lots of our developers, engineers. I think they have more dedicated time to think about like the technology deeply and also solidly, right? The privacy, apparently, like I'm sure like you guys saw the news, like Zoom is going through a lot of troubles right now. Lots of people blame, Zoom leaks like information about this video conferencing information and there, here and there. Yeah, of course, like we do have lots of concerns around the privacy, especially given this remote collaborating could be like a part of the normal life, even for the future after the COVID-19. So because if we can work together physically, then communication is partly like happening in a very near distance. There's no much leak of information could happen, right? But say if we work very remotely, I'm here, Larry's in San Francisco, like I don't know, 20 miles, 30 miles, then like the communication channel gets extended. So of course there's some information leakage could happen. And of course, UCAN is definitely like one thing, like we are working on very actively, like I already mentioned, try to solve this privacy in the context of smart homes.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Another thing on the COVID side of things, we're starting to see a lot of discussions around civil liberty, right? Meaning most specifically privacy, right? In these kind of trying times when, data from an individual may be helpful to the greater good, whether it's to, provide health information that can help with COVID kind of response. It's important to think about, the short-term benefits of providing this data is obviously very important to help people, but also the long-term implications. Once your data is out there, it's out there forever, right? So in these kind of times, it's important for us to, also consider the long-term repercussions of sharing our data and how we share it with corporations, right? So, a lot of these privacy regulations are helping, but they're not going to bring us to the full solution. So we at IoTeX believe we need to use technology in order to maintain our civil liberties, especially in times of crisis like Corona and COVID-19. But thanks, Bez Nika, for the first question from Telegram. The next one is from Trong Bao. What are the main difficulties you encountered when starting this project to bring success like today? And what is your motivation to continue? I think this is a good, Raullen, I think this is a good way to maybe recap some of the activities that we've been down, maybe even starting from Mainnet Alpha almost 1 year ago. Maybe describe what we've been up to this year on the blockchain side and what Mainnet GA kind of really presents to the IoTeX community.
Yeah. I think that's a very good question. Actually, I ask this question to myself all the day, right? So I think the blockchain, generally speaking, blockchain thing is very different from like a very typical, startups here in the Silicon Valley. Startups here in the Silicon Valley, how it works, it actually finds a very specific problem to address. For example, how do people like collaborate remotely, right? So very specific problem, and then they will have like a very small product, to address this problem and try to get like a positive feedbacks from like the audience, from users, from whoever use the product. Then if they see, okay, so this does has a product market fit, they will like double down on the product to make it bigger and more features, more scalable, more security, everything. Actually, it grows up like Zoom, right? Like Airbnb, like Uber, like lots of things happening here. But blockchain actually starts along with a very different, like I would say like a narrative or maybe like a storyline is for blockchain, we all have such like ultimate vision of this world will be actually, organized or maybe managed by not like a centralized parties, but by blockchain in a way, especially like in the IoT world, in the IoTT world, right? But does this really have a market fit today? Probably not, but it will probably 5 years later, right? So no one knows. But still, I think everyone who's believing blockchain, no matter Bitcoin, Ethereum, IoTeX, or whatever blockchain things, you definitely have this belief in the blockchain, and you want to, double down. You want to invest your life, time, money, knowledge, everything into the blockchain. We feel the same, right? I strongly believe like the future of the device world will be, managed by like just one blockchain. It's the same as like the ISP network we are using every day for all the phones all over the world, right? It's the same as all like the internet infrastructure we do have. We will have such a like an infrastructure for like the future world, especially like a machine world, device world. So IoTeX actually started with this version, and we always keep pursuing this ultimate vision of IoTeX, which is like a world of Internet of Trust things. So that's why like we started back in 2017, we co-founded with 3 co-founders. We have, lots of good engineers, research scientists from top companies that definitely brings in a lot of skills, knowledges, thoughts, philosophies, from different world, and we combine them all together. We're building like the first version of the IoTeX blockchain from scratch, using about 1 year. We actually launched the blockchain last year around April, which has already like processed like 4 million transactions up to today, and run by 71, if I remember right, 71 delegates across the world. So we still have like an ever-growing community. Lots of people are talking about us. I think that's blockchain thing. We will try to get it done by June this year by having like new features, new delegates economics, some other fine tuning of the performance, bug fixings. But anyway, and also tooling, of course. Anyway, we want to deliver like a full packaged solution, public blockchain to the community by end of May or maybe early June this year. So that's IoTeX 1.0, right? Then, because we already have this like—
Let's take it there. I'm going to share with you.
Yeah.
I'm going to share with the community one screen we have, one thread that has a lot of information on what Raullen is talking about right now. As my computer loads very slowly for some reason. Yeah, we have this thread kind of describing in the IoTeX forum. The IoTeX forum, by the way, is revamped, right? A lot of great new threads that you guys can jump in and participate in. So really recommend that. But, as Raullen mentioned, in 2019, we launched Mainnet Alpha and Mainnet Beta, the initial version of the IoTeX mainnet. And throughout 2019, throughout the past year, we've made some really important decisions and improvements on the technical side, right? Most notably bringing down block time from 10 seconds to 5 seconds with instant finality, making IoTeX one of the fastest blockchains in the industry. But we're also focusing on the usability a lot in Mainnet GA. So, things that are coming in GA span not only technology on the public blockchain side, but also the private consortium type of enterprise blockchain side. We have something very special coming on that side. And Mainnet GA also represents a very big shift in IoTex's future governance, tokenomics, and independence. We're going to have a new kind of delegate program with new ways for delegates to involve, and we hope that community will become delegates as well. We're going to officially deploy ecosystem funds, kind of share the plans for that, and start to branch out to IoT developers. Anyone that's focused on really trusted data and trusted devices we want to connect with. So this is a really big initiative for IoTeX as well. And another major part of it is independence, right? Native IoTeX only, and a brand new staking mechanism that will make staking and voting not only more transparent, but also much more scalable. So yeah, with that, we kind of recap the past year. The next question, Raullen, is most of the investors focus today on the price of the token in the short term instead of the real value in the long term of the project. So can you tell us the motivation and benefits for investors that want to invest in IoTeX for the long term? So, we've been shooting towards Mainnet GA for a while now, right? And we're almost there, just a couple months away. But maybe it's a good time to share with the community what the post Mainnet GA plans are and what we have planned for the future.
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, let me just continue my talk, right? Yeah. So IoTeX 1.0 GA is coming. Actually, like Larry mentioned, lots of things coming right now. But most importantly, like we realized, if we just have a platform, have a wonderful, blockchain protocol running there, it doesn't do anything, right? In terms of IoT, we have to, really go down to the stack to actually doing some like IoT stuff. So that's why we started like initiatives for Payable Tracker and also Ucam last year Q4 around Q4, right? So the idea here is we want to have some devices which will be widely deployed to the world, actually produce like a trusted data in a way that the data can be processed by the blockchain in another way to produce like a real value, right? So that's ultimate like a vision for IoTeX, and also IoTeX 0.0 will be very focused on this trust data production and consumption idea, right? So we sort of like already take the first step is we have this Ucam, which will be like a wonderful in terms of owner data, privacy, everything, and hopefully we will be able to distribute this Ucam to the market. Like the estimation I got from my market team is like 1 million Ucam users in North America by end of this year. Of course, this Ucam devices will be orchestrated by the IoTeX blockchain. We have some like lots of ideas, tossing around internally about how we design this token economics around Ucam and assuming 1 million Ucam out there, and also like the token with like the blockchain, right? To make them everything like tied together. I think the initial idea we do have is for each Ucam that gets activated on the IoTeX blockchain, there will be a certain amount of IoTeX token either burn or stake or buyback in a way, right? Just to make the protocol more reliable and scalable. At the same time, we will let our users, token holders, especially, to share like our success in the Ucam, in the sales of Ucam, in terms of like a smart home product. So that's next step, right? So once we do have like a Ucam, up and running, interacting with the blockchain protocol all the time, then we will start thinking more about how do we do like the trust data stuff. There are some still more ideas around, even around DeFi, around more things, but we can share that later. Now, that could be a very long story.
Mm-hmm. So what it sounds like you're saying here, Raullen, is what we're starting with, even right now, and also definitely extending and using Mainnet GA to do is using it to ensure trusted devices, right? That's through both blockchain fundamentals and also some IoT and security fundamentals, but ensuring that devices are trusted, they have an identity, the scope of their work is understood and open, and we know that these devices work for us, right? Having that is a big prerequisite to trusted data, right? Trusted devices that generate trusted data ultimately will form the foundation for builders like those in the blockchain industry that want to build trusted processes and trusted applications, right? But it all starts from, that's why data provenance and the traceability of data and kind of the fundamentals of blockchain are so important, right? We're really focusing on, stringing these capabilities together, which is why blockchain and IoT and privacy are kind of very important for IoTeX to think about collectively, right? But I think that's a great, understanding of IoTeX roadmap from past and future. Here's a different type of question, Raullen, from Mart Block from Telegram. What's the biggest rival of IoTeX in the cryptocurrency market? And how would you differentiate IoTeX compared to those other projects? So, obviously the biggest one that people compare us to is IOTA, but maybe we could start with IOTA, but maybe also mention another project you think is doing some interesting things in IoT and kind of how we differ.
Yeah, so first I want to back off a little bit, right, to talk about the computation. Before I started IoTeX, lots of investors told me, if something is really, really too hot and that is very crowded, don't do it, right? But after these 2 years, I feel like things are very differently. If things hot, definitely like something's in it worth looking into. At the same time, although it will start to be very crowded, but there will be very few serious players who can, continue, keep doing, keep pushing, to the end. I feel like we actually probably Larry feel the same, right? So when we started lots of IoT, blockchain, whatever project going on, but after 2 years, especially when we go through this bear market, lots of them just disappeared. So that's a good thing actually. In terms of computation, I think yeah, IoT definitely like in terms of like this coin market what's that called, CMC like a ranking. IoT is definitely like one of our biggest rival because they rank like a top 20 or something. But IoT is doing something very good, but I think like on the tech side, I don't think it's very solid. For example, it has been like their mainnet has been like paused for 12 days, 13 days because of the bug, right? But like people were asking like, how can you like pause a blockchain protocol, for like 2 weeks? If you can pause a blockchain protocol, then what's the purpose of having a blockchain protocol, right? So that's kind of another story. What are the highlights of IoTeX compared to those projects? Yeah, I think like IoTeX, we are not too emphasized on just one technology. For example, lots of projects saying, I'm doing this type of sharding, so I have this, very complicated algorithm, so my sharding is the best, so that's why my blockchain is the best, so that's why my token price should be, top 20 or something. Another project says, okay, I'm doing this, consensus, right? Like a tree graph or whatever, right? Consensus, which is cool, so that's why I should be like top 20. We don't believe in like that, right? Because we see in a real world, like in terms of business, we have to like layer up all the technologies all the way up to the user to address like a real needs from the user, to address real problems. That brings like values into the token, into the project, into the company, into the foundation. So that's my view of IoTeX. The uniqueness of IoTeX is like we basically very organically combine blockchain, trust hardware, and also some like the usability technologies all together to create something like a user can feel and can use.
Yeah, very unique, especially within the broader blockchain industry. So we're starting to see this vision kind of take form, right? We're starting to see, these trusted devices emerge with Ucam and Pebble Tracker, and we're really excited for the next step to see, how exactly this trusted devices and trusted data is ultimately used. But yeah, just jumping to the next question. This one's interesting. It acknowledges, Raullen, your history at Google. Raullen used to work at Google for about 5 years. This question is Google's blatant disregard for user privacy what inspired Raullen Chai to become the co-founder of IoTeX? So, this is an interesting question, right? Like with your inside experience working at Google, obviously building very important and impactful systems, but also seeing some of the, I guess the downsides of capitalism, especially surveillance capitalism, right, from the big tech giants. How do you think about this balance of your previous life working for, centralized tech organization and now your current life working for decentralized blockchain network?
Yeah, I think that's a like a perfect question. Google first of all is like a very good company, very great company. Actually, these things like never happened before, right? I think it's a great company, and also like the two founders, Larry Page and Sergey, they are like a really like people I have like a very high respect for. They are really nice people, like people has noble people, I should say. In terms of Google internal like a privacy, kind of control, I think Google have a very like a rigid control of user data. In order to access user data for debugging, for product development, you will have to go through probably 10 layers of approve all the way from manager, director, senior director, VP, all the way up. Then you can access user data. I think that's very good for Google, right? But it's not Google's problem. It's like the capitals behind Google is very greedy, right? It's the same for every company, Amazon, Facebook, even all the companies, like the capitals behind the companies are actually very greedy. So they are always asking for the company, can you do more, right? Can you earn more money for me? So I think that's basically the root cause for those companies trying to touch base on users' data to try to monetize more, more advertisement, more accurate profiling of a user. So that's where this thing happens. It's not the company, it's the capital behind. So that's why, like, I think, right? So if we have a centralized company, no matter like how noble the founders are, how advanced the technology is, uh, if the company is eventually, you know, controlled by such a, you know, big capital behind, then it will fall into the same, you know, same thing of like invade users' privacy for some purposes. Blockchain would be very different. It's purely decentralized. It's not owned by me, not owned by IoTeX like the team here. It's owned by everyone in the world. So that's the thing I believe in. You know, there's such type of transparency and also decentralization.
Yeah, it's definitely important, you know, especially in these times where we're starting to see so many breaches of trust from major corporations. So this quest for decentralization is now more important than ever, right? So
Yes.
yeah, thanks for that perspective on your past and present, Ron. This next question is from LAMEMSL from Telegram. What's the market size for the project, and what is IoTex's recipe for success? So maybe this, you know, we talk a lot about the blockchain industry, even more about privacy. Maybe we can touch a little bit on the general IoT industry, right? Like, what is the market looking like, and kind of where does blockchain fit in today, Raullen?
Yeah, IoT is definitely like going up right now. It has been, people has been talking about IoT in the past 2 decades, but in the recent 5 years, you know, with the emerge of AI, 5G, even blockchain, I see like a uptrend of the IoT market. I think the market size right now is at least 100 billion. It could be like 1,000 billion, like a market in the next few years. So very, very big market. You know, as a normal people, like, you know, you can feel, right? Because if you look at your home, you may have more like a smart device at your home, which you don't have probably 5 years ago, right? If you look at your phone, it's fancier than before, and you can do lots of things using your phone, your, you know, AirPods, you know, whatever devices you have. So you can see like IoT is actually coming. It's also coming a way that could be like even faster than before. So what's the recipe for success, right? So like I said, IoTeX recipe for success is like we organically organize all useful technologies all together to address real problems people have.
Absolutely. And you know, this is a good segue into the next question. Is about, you know, so we gave an understanding of the Internet of Things, but what do we mean by the Internet of Trusted Things? So maybe I could take a little bit of time to explain our vision for this. So, you know, Internet of Trusted Things has always been kind of our North Star for the project, right? Our ultimate goal for IoTeX. And, you know, right now we're still, you know, we've built out a really great foundation to kind of enable and empower this Internet of Trusted Things, but it's really going to take, you know, the support of different builders and definitely community members like you guys to make it a vision or a true reality, right? But the Internet of Trusted Things to us means an open ecosystem that's human-centered and human-owned, where, you know, people, machines, and businesses can all interact peer-to-peer in a very safe and private fashion, right? So, you know, what that means from an end user perspective is we're going to be able to own our data, especially the ones coming from our devices. And with that control, we can fully choose whether to keep it private, whether to share it, or whether to sell it, right? So basically taking the vertically integrated silos that corporations have built over the past decade of the internet era and breaking them down, right? Decentralizing the centralized corporations, which will ultimately give control, money, and independence to users. So, you know, that's kind of like a very high level vision of what I believe would be the Internet of Trusted Things. But, you know, Raullen, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that definitely like Internet of Trust things is a very abstract concept, right? It includes lots of things. Very concretely speaking, UCAN is such one form of IoT. It provides privacy and owner data type of features to users. So that could be like a very good thing for the user. PayPal is another type of IoT. Like it provides like the data that is 100% trustworthy, right? So we can use this data for some DeFi applications, you know, for some other type of applications because they are like a fully trusted data. So that's another type of IoT. I think along the line we will have like a, you know, we will define these different forms of IoT. So people will be very easy to comprehend what does IoT mean. But that's a very, very important, also cool concept for IoTeX for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great. So, we only have about 10 minutes left here. So we're going to do more rapid fire questions. And also, so just one thing here is, from Metallican87 from Telegram, how do you see the project develop in 3 to 5 years from now, both from a business and company perspective? Does this include, expansion to different regions? And what are the plans over the next in 5 years, what's the goal for IoTeX? I think is basically the question here, Raullen.
Yeah, 3 to 5 years, I think IoTeX will be like the top 10 projects if you look at the CMC list, because we are the one, who's connecting the physical world with the blockchain world. For now, blockchain world is very self-contained. Everything you do is just within this blockchain, container, right? But we will, branch out to different different visions of the physical world by using IoTT. I think that will bring us lots of value, lots of opportunities, not just here in America, Asian as well, Europe as well. Yeah, so I have a very strong belief in IoTeX.
Absolutely. The next question here is around any plans from the IoTeX team to release a privacy-centric home assistant like Amazon's Alexa. So maybe this is kind of a two-part question, right? One is maybe what other types of products do we have planned for the future? And another one is, how does IoTeX really fit into products that are already out there? Like, will we one day be able to power Ring security cameras with IoTeX technology?
Yeah, there are already lots of vendors coming to us saying, I have an outdoor camera. Can you guys do the similar on your data ID on my outdoor camera? Can you do this on my doorbell? Can you do this on my speaker? I think lots of things are actually floating around right now. So privacy-centric home assistant like Alexa, I like it. I like it a lot because I do have Alexa at home and do have concerns. Yeah, but technically speaking, there are some challenges we will have to address first to build a little bit more infrastructure, so we will be able to do like Alexa type of devices.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think this is really interesting to think about too, is how blockchain will fit into the existing devices that we come to know, right? And Ucam is a great example of this. It has all the features that you would expect from the best security cameras out there you can buy on Amazon or Best Buy or whatever retail store, but it also comes with privacy by design. So, the intellectual property and technology we built into Ucam, the great thing about this is, we spent a lot of time doing it to make the product very, very great, right? But now we can take this template and apply it to many other products. Definitely cameras is more plug and play, I would say, but now we have the know-how to, enable full privacy for users on all different types of devices. So it's really exciting for us. Next question here is, how will the privacy features of IoTeX be suitable for enterprise businesses, especially if there's some regulation requirements? So maybe I can take this one. I think I've been doing a lot of research on these privacy regulations and things like that. So, the biggest ones you probably know about are GDPR and CCPA. GDPR applies to Europe and CCPA is for California and the United States. Basically, these regulations require corporations to disclose what information they collect from you, how they use it, and whether or not they sell it or not, right? So it provides a lot of transparency for users. But the truth is that for every single corporation that holds your data, users will need to submit requests one by one to each one of these corporations, which, and if they misuse your data, you have to pursue them in legal action. So this is more prone to people that have a lot of money to fight these cases, a lot of time. In other words, not the vast majority of us, right? So rather than relying on regulations to secure our privacy, IoTeX really believes in the ability for technology to build in privacy and human-centeredness from the beginning, right? So we don't really need to even think about regulations to provide our privacy. We can rely on technology that openly and transparently delivers that to us. So IoTeX, I think, is an even higher standard than some of the privacy regulations that are coming out today. So one other question from Daria here, one of our amazing IoTeX ambassadors. What is the most important and main component when you consider creating a mainnet GA? So, maybe this question is, what's different about the level of sophistication and preparedness we have for mainnet GA and maybe mainnet alpha or mainnet beta? What have we learned, Raul?
Yeah, I think on the tech side, definitely doing a blockchain protocol is very hard. It's a rocket science, right? It's very different from, doing an app, doing a website, you can do it just you have an idea. Doing like a decentralized system in a secure and reliable way requires lots of professional knowledge, computer science. Um, so that's why we have this top-notch engineers here, like who can, like the core team who can do this, from scratch. It's not easy. Sometimes we're seeing problems like unexpected, or like why the product behave that way. We are like a really lots of firefighting is happening. Then they just go down to very deep into the code to find, oh, so here's something like a very core case we haven't considered before. Okay, we should do this. All right, so I think that's challenge one. Challenge two is like fine tuning like some of the token economics. That's non-trivial work, right? That needs lots of inspiration, intelligence, also some luck, I would say, and some simulation, hard working as well. How would you tune like the token economics we already have to make it more inclusive for voters, for stakers, everybody's happy, and also the chain happy, right? So that's challenge two. Challenge three is how do we combine, UCAN, like 1 million UCAN out there, in the North American with the blockchain we do have using some very smart token economics, right? So we can design, we have like probably 3 to 5 already like schemes already designed, but we are, being very careful trying to see which one we want to pick, right? Because we don't know what will happen if you pick the wrong one. But I'm sure like we will basically do a very good selection of the token economics here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Mainnet GA also represents an important milestone for us to bring the community into more decision making around IoTeX. So we're starting to see a lot more community polls around delegate slashing, IoTeX Foundation bonus. So expect more of those in the future, and we really want to bring you guys into the decision making process around governance and tokenomics and technology. So we're running out of time here. Got to get back to work, but we have some questions here on both YouTube and on Zoom. So we'll just tackle a few of these. So UB on Zoom has asked us, aside from the renowned, I like that word, UCAM and Pebble Tracker, what would we as consumers expect from IoTeX in 2020 and the years to come? Maybe Raullen, what other products are you excited about? If you had to pick one future powered by IoTeX product that you're really excited about, what kind of product would that be?
Yeah, like car. I like cars. So this is like also always the thing I want to do. We have some investor who promised to introduce us to Elon Musk, like the Tesla's father, builder, right? So if such a thing can happen, I would think have this own your data idea apply to Tesla, apply to autonomous vehicles. That would be like my dream come true. I really like it, to be honest. Yeah, of course, we will start with something small to exercise, like the technology, exercise the product, exercise team as well, also to educate the community, educate the world. What we're doing is actually very, very valuable. But down the road, we want to something even bigger. I think car would be like a very good idea.
Yeah, vehicles are definitely, driving computers these days. So definitely a lot of applicability, generate crazy amounts of data. So I think, vehicles are very important future for IoTeX, but, anything that manages sensitive data or any type of process that, there's friction points due to lack of trust, I think are targets, right? So, we get a lot of requests for things like wearable devices, things that have to do with our health data. And one of the really interesting devices that I've been talking to some folks in Europe about is kind of these at-home diagnostic systems where you want to measure your blood pressure, or you measure some of your biometrics, but you want to ensure that that data that you measure at home can then be trusted by doctors and hospitals. It really relies on, again, that prerequisite of trusted devices and then trusted data. So once you have that trust, it really allows you to use that data with a lot of parties without necessarily needing the traditional intermediaries to take not only ownership of your data, but also a cut of the profits. So, two last questions here from Zoom. Are you planning to collaborate with Google, and where can I view future contracts with your business partners?
Yeah, Google probably come next. So we are talking with Amazon, especially like the cloud computing aspect of Amazon. So there will be some news coming out. I think probably, I don't know, 1 week, 2 week, 1 month, 2 months. Yeah, but stay tuned for that. Cannot to talk too much. Still like lots of business details to be determined.
Yeah, I mean, the nature of these partnerships with like the biggest names in the world, right? Amazon, Google, Facebook, etc. You got to understand that these corporations are huge, right? They have so many different business units. So, when you see people say, "Oh, we partner with Google," or "We partner with blah blah blah," you have to also look into the details of the partnership a bit. I think this is a thing that's very popular in the crypto industry to get very excited by the names, but not to call out any projects there, but I think looking into the meaning of the relationships is something that we think a lot about at IoTeX, right? Yeah, stay tuned for some news that Raullen was mentioning there. And I think a good one to end on here from Jonathan is, what do you feel about some of the cryptocurrency projects suddenly disappearing this past month and maybe into this next coming year? So this is kind of like a question about the trying times of the crypto market. So as a project that is building through the bear market and the crypto winter, what would you say to the community about our position and the position of other projects in the industry around it?
Yeah, I think I already replied to this question. Actually, lots of people just want to make quick money, right? So they just want to launch a project, to dump the token, just hide and just run away. We're different, and few people I see in the industry, they are very different. So they are pursuing something like a really valuable and also have a bright future. I think IoTeX is definitely one of them. Yeah, when something's open, then there will definitely be lots of spammers. People just from very different cultural background doing very different things. So you have to be bright and wise and also consistent of what you want to see and what you want to pursue.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you so much for the insights, Raullen, and thank you all for joining, both on Zoom and on YouTube. Yeah, before we drop off, just wanted to mention, we're really excited for all of the things coming up with Mainnet GA. I think this past quarter, January through March, has really been an intense building period for IoTeX. I mean, we're always intensely building, but especially these times, focusing on different types of building, right? Really focusing on making IoTeX blockchain more usable for developers and making our products like Ucam usable for consumers, right? So it's a different flavor than the deeply technical protocol building, which is still ongoing, but really starting to round out the capabilities of IoTeX. So something that we're really excited about internally, and hope you guys are excited for the future too. But yeah, any final thoughts before we drop off, Raullen?
No, I think we should do this AMA very often. I think lots of very good questions actually coming from the community. Thanks for all the questions, and also thanks for your support.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Raullen mentioned, I think we're going to try some new types of ways to engage with the community, whether they're more informal coffee chats where, we talk directly with you guys, and definitely more AMAs like this. So if you have any other suggestions, definitely let us know on Telegram or reach out to us directly via email. You know where to find us. So, with that, hope everyone stays safe during this COVID-19 pandemic. It's a very, crazy time in this world, but I think after this is all over, the world will be a different place, and people will start to think more about connections with their digital lives, physical safety, and I think IoTeX really has a big position to help the world through these problems in the future. So thank you all again for joining, and we'll see you soon. Thank you guys so much.